Well, a couple different things happened today. One, Brandon Aiyuk officially requested trade. I don't know. Apparently, the Niners haven't been willing to actually sit down and talk to him over the past few months. We'll talk about Aiyuk being dealt, talk about the possible landing spots, and how values should be changing. Second thing that happened today, I'm going to be very honest with you. There's no way in hell I could step into this draft room and have any type of realistic shot. I don't know nearly enough about college football. But Underdog just dropped what I believe to be the largest college football draft of all time. For this next college football season, a $10 buy-in, $100,000 prize pool. There have already been 1,400 entrants into it, 20,000 for first, 20 rounds deep. I personally would get absolutely crushed. So I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to stay with these NFL drafts. We're going to go enter in the $5 fast puppy. This bad boy is filling up quickly. This is a $5 buy-in, $1 million prize pool, 100,000, 200,000 for first. And we will be taking it down. But let's smooth this over and let me know if any of y'all have gotten in a college football draft, what your experience was like, and how the hell you know enough about college football to draft a 20-round fantasy football team. But thank you for stopping by, everybody. Really do appreciate you. And Chris Kyle says, started a draft with Lamb, Aiyuk, and Debo today. This is going to be something that's going to be very interesting to track. Where Brandon Aiyuk is going to be going in drafts now. Brandon Aiyuk previously had an ADP of about 19. To be honest with you, I was drafting a lot of Brandon Aiyuk. I checked my exposures earlier today. I have drafted I want to say 10% of my teams have Brandon Aiyuk on them. I've taken a lot of Aiyuk. And now he kind of needs to be a faller. Because if we go through and look at this, and I talked with Danny on flockfantasy.com. We had an hour-long podcast talking about a bunch of stuff, but we talked about this in depth. Brandon Aiyuk leaving San Francisco, the potential landing spots. Can everybody spam the chat? Where do you think that Brandon Aiyuk goes if he is traded? My personal teams on the radar that I think are most likely to get Brandon Aiyuk would be Washington. That name's already been thrown around a ton. Carolina and Pittsburgh. Those are three teams that could use a receiver. Those are three teams that aren't paying a crazy amount of money to their quarterback. Now, if you look at the change that you should have, if he goes to Carolina, Pittsburgh, or Washington, all of those offenses are currently projected out to be bottom 10 in the NFL this season in total points scored according to Las Vegas sportsbooks. Now, of course, adding a player like Brandon Aiyuk to said offense would definitely make them better this season, but nonetheless, they currently project out as bottom 10 offenses in the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers this season project out as the highest scoring offense in the entire NFL. So if we're looking at this, I think it's going to be very tough to go out and say that any of those landing spots are anything but horrendous for Aiyuk in comparison to where he is today. The efficiency, the touchdown upside would dramatically go down. Now, with that being said, you can spin it in a positive light. You can say, well, Mason, if Brandon Aiyuk gets sent to Carolina, yes, it's going to be a way worse offense. You'll have fewer overall offensive yards, fewer overall offensive touchdowns, but he'll have a higher percentage of that offense. He won't have to compete with Debo. He won't have to compete with Kittle. He won't have to compete with Christian McCaffrey, which is a very fair point. So what you may end up seeing from Brandon Aiyuk if he goes to a team like Pittsburgh, Carolina, Washington, is the efficiency takes a nosedive just because of the overall offensive change that he is in. However, even though the efficiency may dramatically go down, his market share numbers may go up, and that may save him just a bit. Instead of seeing, say, a 21% team target share in San Francisco, maybe he goes over to Carolina, or maybe he goes over to Pittsburgh and he sees 28% of that team's targets. So it's very difficult to figure out Aiyuk right now. I will say for a fact, and I've already seen this in drafts at the moment. One, Debo Samuel dramatically goes up. If Aiyuk is dealt, Debo Samuel right now goes to the 2-3 turn. And let's do this one by one with everybody. I'll let you know how I feel, but let me know what you think. And we talked about this earlier as well. Hypothetically, Brandon Aiyuk gets sent to Washington, wherever, it doesn't matter. Would you rather have Debo Samuel or Mike Evans in fantasy football drafts this season? Debo Samuel or Mike Evans, if Aiyuk is in Carolina, Washington, it doesn't matter. Okay, 1 vote Debo, 2 votes Debo, 3 Debo, exclusively Debo Samuel votes. I am right in line with y'all. I 100% think you go Debo in that instance. Debo Samuel or Devontae Adams if Brandon Aiyuk is shipped away. Debo Samuel or Devontae Adams. We got 1 vote Devontae, 1 vote Debo. Debo, Adams, Debo. Debo, Adams, Debo. I would rather have Debo over Devontae Adams easily if you have no Brandon Aiyuk. Debo Samuel versus Jalen Waddle. Please let me know in the chat. So we're going to see how high this guy goes. I know I'm being annoying, but it is what it is. Let's try to figure out where the new ADP is going to line up. Okay, let's move this over. So when we take Chris Olave at the 201, I should have said this out the gate. Do I think Chris Olave is such a good player that he is so much better than Marvin Harrison Jr., that Chris Olave is so much better than Drake London? No, I don't. I don't think that at all. But I think that there are going to be a lot of Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. teams. I think there are going to be a lot of Garrett Wilson, Drake London teams. I don't think there are going to be very many Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave teams at all in this tournament. And I do think that Olave is in a similar tier to Harrison and London. So we're going to take the worst player strictly because of the tournament aspect and hoping to have a unique combo compared to the rest of the field. But let's look at this. What's very surprising here is it seems like it's kind of split. Debo, Waddle, Debo, Waddle, Debo, Waddle. It looks like it's split between the two. If you send away Aiyuk, I would way rather have Debo Samuel over Jalen Waddle. If you send away Aiyuk, I would rather have Debo Samuel over Nico Collins. You send away Aiyuk, I would rather have Debo Samuel over Drake London. You send away Aiyuk, I would rather have Debo Samuel over Chris Olave. I would rather have Debo Samuel over Marvin Harrison Jr. The only wide receivers that I would take over Debo Samuel, if the Niners did not have Brandon Aiyuk, that's not the situation as today, but we're going to go down this hypothetical rabbit hole. The only wide receivers that I would draft over Debo would be Lamb, Tyreek, Chase, St. Brown, Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Puka, Garrett Wilson. I would have Debo Samuel ranked at wide receiver 9 with no Brandon Aiyuk. And I mean, we have seen Debo Samuel be the number 3 wide receiver in fantasy before. It's not like it's a super hot take. Now, real quick, probably should have said this a while ago. If somehow you just stumbled into this draft and you don't know what's going on, this is where we draft every single night on the live stream. This is Underdog Fantasy. I have drafted here every single day pretty much for years. It's best ball, so there's no time commitment at all during the season. That's how we draft so many teams. That's how I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. Of course, I'll be drafting every single night on the live stream. If you want to draft with me, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section, in the live chat. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get hooked up with my 2024 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. With code FLOCK, you would also get my 2024 Fantasy Football Rankings. And with code FLOCK, you would also get set up with a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. You do have to be in one of these states to draft on Underdog, though, if you wanted to get in. Here's the map. Bad news is you have to be in one of these states. Good news is it's available in almost every state. Yes, it's available in California. Yes, in Texas. Yes, in Florida. Yes, in New York. Yes, in Michigan. You can see the map there. Okay. Now, Alex says Debo over Nico Collins, ? Yes, I would rather have Debo Samuel over Nico Collins. The Niners will be a better offense. And if you had no Brandon Aiyuk, I think Debo Samuel has less target competition than Nico Collins does. Okay, Terry McLaurin is a faller. If y'all have not noticed in drafts, Terry McLaurin has an ADP of 48. Terry McLaurin, one of my least drafted guys. Actually, feeling pretty good about that at the moment. If you look at Terry McLaurin currently, I think he is being drafted ahead of his ceiling. And if you go ahead and potentially send, say, I don't know, maybe Brandon Aiyuk to Washington, then all of a sudden, I mean, we can go through the wide receivers I'd rather have over Terry McLaurin in that instance. Terry McLaurin has an ADP of 48. The guys that go after 48 in this draft, Kirk, give me over McLaurin. Hollywood, give me over McLaurin. In the instance that Aiyuk's there. Keenan, give me over McLaurin. Jaden Reed, give me over McLaurin. I'd probably rather have Jaden Reed right now. Calvin Ridley, give me over McLaurin. Chris Godwin, give me over Terry McLaurin. Rashee Rice, give me over Terry McLaurin. Xavier Worthy, give me over Terry. Rome, give me over Terry. Hopkins, give me over Terry. Ladd, give me over Terry. Christian Watson, Brian Thomas. I would legitimately, and I know this is going to sound crazy, I would move Terry McLaurin down to probably about wide receiver 42, wide receiver 43. If you ended up getting a Brandon Aiyuk trade. And like I said, I understand that sounds crazy. I will reiterate, Terry McLaurin is going into his age 29 season. He's never finished higher than the wide receiver 20 from a points per game perspective. And he'd be playing alongside a target hog where you have a rookie quarterback that is going to go out there and just stat pile rushing yards, not passing volume. And likewise, if Brandon Aiyuk gets them to Washington, Aiyuk falls dramatically down for me. Brandon Aiyuk at that point, if he were to go to Washington, would be after DJ Moore for me. I'd rather have Moore. I'd rather have Diggs. Brandon Aiyuk would probably fall to like the Michael Pittman Jr., Tank Dell, Zay Flowers range for me. Observations of Life says, I noticed they dropped Terry McLaurin's yards from 1,000 to 900 for some reason. I really think Aiyuk will be a commander. Yeah, if y'all don't know, Underdog does have pick'ems available. Last I checked, you had Brandon Aiyuk at 5.5 receiving touchdowns, 950.5 receiving yards. So Observations for Life says they dropped Terry from 1,000 to 900. I think that they did this well before the Brandon Aiyuk news, though. Terry McLaurin for fewer than 1,000 receiving yards is a very easy spot to take this season, just given the overall offensive volume projections that you have for Washington. I don't have the screenshot right now set up for the Jaden Daniels Underdog pick'em, but I know that they have Jaden Daniels for 19.5 passing touchdowns, higher or lower, and they have Jaden Daniels for like 3,100 passing yards, higher or lower. It's just going to be a very low volume passing attack. Jaden Daniels himself can still be great in fantasy because he can run the ball, but I think it's going to be difficult to go out there and, I don't know, get excited about the passing volume in this offense. Now, Diego says Scary Terry was way overpriced from the start. This is where I stand. Like, obviously, if you love Terry McLaurin going at pick 48, then you're probably going to think I'm crazy saying he falls down to like being in the wide receiver 40-ish range. But I was already much lower than consensus on him. Augustus says Team 3 spicy. We'll go ahead and we'll figure it out. I mean, we'll check out Team 3 in a second. Curtis Samuel, 82. Super interesting to see Curtis Samuel go over Keon Coleman here. In my mind, it is crazy. It is egregious. We're probably just going to take Aaron Jones, Jameson Williams. Don't love Jameson in this spot. Obviously, when we have Josh Allen, the goal, the setup here is we want Keon Coleman. Everybody knows that in this draft room. We need a receiver. We have Josh Allen. But Looking at Curtis Samuel versus Keon Coleman. I liked Curtis back in the day when he was in Carolina. This is a player that I want to root for. Very young guy coming out of Ohio State. Still remember his prospect profile. He was at an Ohio State room that had just had so many talented wide receivers in it. I mean, hell, you had Terry McLaurin there for a time. But if you were taking Curtis Samuel over Keon Coleman in a tournament that's a $5 buy-in, $200,000 for first place, I am telling you right now, you are overthinking it to the 10th degree. I hate to just get down and just rattle off some super stupid, simple statistics. Because I know a lot of people then go to the comment section and go, oh, Mason, I guess you don't know, so let me inform you. Curtis Samuel is actually now in Buffalo. This is the best situation he's been in his entire NFL. Yes, I get it, right? Curtis Samuel is in the best situation of his entire NFL career. That's why he's going to pick 82 here, higher than we've seen him, I think, almost ever in his NFL career. But just to get some realistic expectations of what we've seen from Curtis Samuel is going into year 8 of his respective career. And Curtis Samuel has one season with more than 9.0 fantasy points per game in a half PPR format. He's going into year 8 of his NFL career, and he has one season with more than 9.0 fantasy points per game, and it was at about 11. You are taking that guy on the same team of Keon Coleman, where Keon Coleman has a very wide range of outcomes, maybe similar to Curtis Samuel. Maybe Keon Coleman can't get over 9 fantasy points per game. That's a possibility. But he was just pretty much selected in round 1 of the NFL draft, goes at pick 33. I did not like Keon Coleman. Now, I did not like him from a dynasty perspective. I thought his prospect profile was disgusting, yada, yada, yada. But if you're telling me I'm getting a borderline round 1 NFL draft pick in the same offensive situation as a guy that we're hoping for a breakout in year 8 in, even if I don't like you as a prospect, I'm still going to go Keon Coleman. So, I'm sorry. Okay. Michael says, pick 1, grabbing Daniels a few spots before ADP, which is interesting because y'all know I'm drafting all the time off the live stream. And I had noticed over the past week or so, Jaden Daniels falling. Like it seemed like his ADP was going down. Or I guess now that you have more smoke with the Aiyuk situation, this will be a situation where I guess changes course and begins to go up. Now, with the squad, we are sitting with Jamison Williams and Sam Laporta. So obviously, it's a situation in which we've set ourselves up to go with Jared Goff for the double stack later on. So Goff will be a primary target of ours. Dontavian Wicks, 106, a little early for Wicks. Tajay Spears goes. So we're going to take Joshua Palmer. To be honest with you, I don't love Shakir, but like I already said, I don't love Curtis Samuel to dominate targets. I didn't really love Keon Coleman as a prospect. What we do know, though, is this Bills offense is going to be phenomenal. And if it's a bad Bills offense, then who cares? Because I've already lit this $5 on fire, and there's no shot this team wins when I took Josh Allen there at pick 37. So if we're trying to turn this $5 into $200,000, when I took Josh Allen there at 37, really the only way that we hit big is if Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are a top 3 offense in the NFL this year in total points scored. So we need to follow it up with some more Bills afterwards. So going James Cook, pick 60, I actually kind of like the pick. I mean, I was primarily targeting Keon Coleman, if possible, at 85, which we whiffed on. Of course, Keon Coleman goes 1 pick before us. But we set ourselves up with the double stack for Detroit later on. And then with Shakir here, the only reason his ADP is here, and I mean, the only reason his ADP is here is because the Josh Allen team typically takes him. So it's not like we're doing something that's way different than the rest of the field. It's not like I have some master plan and blah, blah. No, it's just, if you have Josh Allen, you weren't able to get Keon Coleman, you weren't able to get Dalton Kincaid, you weren't able to get Curtis Samuel, you're kind of stuck just all of a sudden taking Khalil Shakir at 109. The Pound says all roads. And let me know, my guy, how much Kincaid do you have? What percentage? Because I have taken a ridiculous amount of Kincaid. I think Kincaid is he's probably my most drafted Bill. At Keon Coleman's price point now, at wide receiver 48, wide receiver 49, I'll probably flip it at one point and make it Keon. But we'll see. Okay, so I think we saw a message earlier in the chat that Team 3 is a member of the flock, said that they were looking spicy. Maybe they were just hyping themselves up here. You go Tyreek, Aiyuk, Kupp out the gate. Not a super unique start. Typically, when I go wide receiver, I'm going to go Kyron Williams over Cooper Kupp, but that's just me. Then McBride, Hollywood. Personally, I don't like Hollywood there at 51. I would rather have Jaden Reed over Hollywood, to be honest with you. DeAndre Hopkins at 70, Kenneth Walker at 75. Really like the value of Walker if you needed a running back there, which you do. 94, Zamir White looks good. Raheem Mostert. Then Brock Purdy to pair up with Aiyuk. I guess you're saying that Ayuk's not going to get dealt. And then Trey Benson at 123 seems like a very reasonable price as well. So yeah, I like the team early rounds. It doesn't seem like anything special, but you get some pretty strong running back values. John says 51 more days until football. Oh, are you serious? Is it that close? I need to pick up the pace of my drafts then. I already thought I was going nuts with drafts, but I think we need to go even a little bit harder. So we are more likely than not going to go Jared Goff, as we already discussed. This team here has Stroud. They have Kyler. They can't take another quarterback. They're more likely than not going to go Eckler, I'd assume. We're going to take Jared Goff as our second QB. Then we're going to be done drafting quarterbacks with the Josh Allen double stack with Shakir and James Cook, and the Jared Goff double stack with Laporta and Jameson. They go Eckler. So we're going to go Goff. And then after we take Goff, to be honest with you, I don't really know what to do. It's an awkward spot. I think we may end up going Dalton Schultz and calling it a day at tight end and a day at quarterback. I think that this gives us the ability to go with a 2-6-8-2 build, which typically is not something I'm doing very often, but I don't know. I mean, specifically in this draft where rounds 3 through 7, we don't take a wide receiver. We definitely are still playing catch up with the wide receiver position. We need 8. We take our first running back off the board at pick 60. I think it can make sense for a 2-6-8. Because, I mean, our tight end's going to be locked and loaded with Laporta and Schultz. And our quarterback should be locked and loaded with Allen and Goff. But anyway, now wide receiver, we have Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, Joshua Palmer, Khalil Shakir. Tight end, we have Sam Laporta and Dalton Schultz. Quarterback, we have Josh Allen, double stacked with James Cook and Khalil Shakir. And we have Jared Goff, double stacked with Laporta and Jameson. A-Rod says, thanks for calling my team mediocre Mason LOJK. I appreciate you, my guy. And let me, if I can, okay, the pop-out chat's not going to let me. Next time I don't have the chat popped out like that, remind me to add you as a moderator, my guy. I know you're out here with us all the time. Same thing with Waffle Taco. Remind me to add you as a moderator. And Mr. Padilla. We got a couple people out here. Alex says, does Metcalf go in the second round with Aiyuk dropping? I would rather have Aiyuk over Metcalf still. I would not officially move Aiyuk below Metcalf until we actually get the Aiyuk landing spot. And if it is god-awful. And even then, I'll have to think about it. Can y'all please let me know in the live chat, what percentage chance do you think Aiyuk gets dealt to one of these teams? I think it's low, but that's just me. We'll throw two teams together, the Bills and the Chargers. What percentage chance does Aiyuk have to get sent to one of those situations? Because the Bills and Chargers, that's a spot where you can say the offensive drop-off is there, but it's not nearly as massive as like going to the Panthers. And you should be able to project out to have a very high target share in those offenses. So you can make an argument that Aiyuk gets dealt to Buffalo And then all of a sudden, he goes up in drafts. Like I said, I think it's a very low percentage. 5%, 27%, less than 10, 7, 0, 7, 1%, 10%, 2, 1, 0, 1, 8, 20, 15. The 0, 1, 1, 2%. Y'all are even lower than I am on them. I mean, on the possibility. I would assume the possibility would be about 5%. But obviously, I'm pulling that number out of my butt. I have no idea. Now, let's move this over. For us, it's great to see quarterbacks and tight ends off the board. So when we see someone like Darnell Mooney go here 152, it's no bueno. We'll put it that way. No bueno for us. Hunter Henry 153, Kirk Cousins 154. Those picks are good for us. Jalen Wright goes. We'll take Jaleel. And honestly, we'll mix in Wandale. Because there's pretty much no shot that Aiyuk goes to the Giants where they are having to pay their quarterback. They're not really contending. Whereas I think we can use that enough as a tiebreaker against Adam Thielen, where Thielen does have the shot where Aiyuk's dealt to Carolina, and then all of a sudden Adam Thielen's pretty much undraftable. I love that everybody in the chat is calling Sticky Ricky, Sticky Ricky. I don't know if I've ever heard. I think, to my knowledge, I made up Sticky Ricky. Did I make that up? Or is that a thing? Teresa says Sticky Ricky's hurt. I saw it announced today. Let me go ahead and pull that up. I'm going to type into Twitter, Sticky Ricky. Ricky Pearsall. Okay, this is pretty funny. Hearing the injury that landed Sticky Ricky on the NFI is not considered serious. Okay, it's not supposed to be that bad. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's too serious based off all those little tweets that I was looking at. Okay. And I'm sure y'all saw the dog burst in here. She's dying to tell everybody hello, so I'll give her camera time for just a second. I know. You heard me talking about you, didn't you? You heard me talking about you. As soon as I said that, someone stood up and started wagging her tail, right? I know. You're a good girl. I know. Do you have anything to say, or do you just want to be seen? She goes, I just like to be seen. I just need some attention. I know. You're a good girl. Go under. Okay, there we go. Now, yes, if you have not done so already, hit that like button. Let's get a 300 and fire up another draft. Not for me, if for the little puppy. And there's a chance we bring the puppy to the meetup. She's gone to the meetup every year. I think you've gone every year, haven't you? She's maybe gone to the meetup every single season. So this is the first time we've done it at an actual place. So maybe a little bit tougher. She doesn't love strangers. But we'll figure it out. Okay. We are going to need to take a few more receivers. We're down bad at the wide receiver position, as the kids may say. Malachi Corley makes sense for us. We took Garrett Wilson. Maybe we say, oh, Rodgers is great. This is a phenomenal offense. Both guys hit. Maybe we go, Mike Williams doesn't really do anything, and both guys hit. I don't know. We're trying to come up with a story here to find some upside. And then I guess we will go ahead and take Marvin Mims and pretend that it matters at all that we have Jaleel on this team. But anyway, now wide receiver. God, it just sucks so bad having Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave as your round 1 and 2 picks. Who would have thought that taking guys that weren't deserving of round 1 and 2 picks would make a bad team? But anyway, Wide receiver. We have Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. We took Olave here for a unique start out the gate, not because I have Olave ranked here, not because I think he's better than all these other guys in round 2, but because I don't think there'll be many Wilson-Olave teams. So if Olave and Wilson both go nuclear in weeks 15, 16, 17, we could have leverage over the rest of the field. Then we have Jameson, Joshua Palmer, Shakir, Wan'Dale Robinson, Malachi Corley, Marvin Mims. Let's be real here. We ain't winning this league based off what we have going on at wide receiver. If we are winning this league, I don't even know how. Maybe Sam Laporta drops 250 points this season. I don't know. We have Laporta, Dalton Schultz at tight ends. We have Josh Allen, Jared Goff at quarterback. We have Allen double stacked with James Cook, Shakir. Jared Goff double stacked with Laporta and Jameson. Some other correlating pieces. We have Garrett Wilson, Malachi Corley paired up on the same squad. And that's about it, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. And then here in the final 2 rounds, we are going to be going running back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Malik says, lit that $5 on fire. To quote a great Mason Dodd, who knows exactly how to flex on everyone here. Okay. And I will say, be ready to be flexed on. At this point in my life, if I light $5 on fire trying to make a good fantasy football team and I whiff, I'm used to it and I'll live to see another day. I made myself dinner tonight. I did not pick anything up. We had Tyson panko chicken strips thrown in the air fryer. Very good. And then we had chickpea pasta. Cut up the chicken, threw it in the chickpea pasta. Didn't have pasta sauce, but we had some little hot sauce packets. Put hot sauce in it and got it down. Got some carbs in us for a run tomorrow. Got some chicken in us, so hopefully I one day look muscular again. And yeah, but anyway, it was free, essentially, because I'd already bought the groceries. That's how that works. And we can light the $5 on fire. Okay. Frank says, Mason, would you ever do the college football draft on Underdog? I am sorry, my friend. I would get crushed. And when I say crushed, I mean crushed. There's no way that I can try to step in and draft some solid college basketball team. I mean, college football teams. There's a zero. By the time we got to round 8, I would not recognize a single name unless they went to University of Texas. Okay, we're going to go Audric Estime, and we're going to say, oh, what happens if Javonte goes down and Bo Jalil and Estime hit in a big time? I don't know how it happens. I don't know why it would happen, but we're going to pretend. And then we're going to take Tank Bigsby and go, oh my gosh, Kyron Williams was a bad running back prospect who did nothing in his rookie season that blew up randomly in year 2. What if it happens again? It's not going to happen again, but we're going to pretend, and we will take Tank Bigsby to do it. Primate places, is it ever worth it investing in both Lions running backs? So we've talked about this before, but if you get Montgomery falling significantly to you on a team where you have Jahmyr Gibbs, it can be okay to go ahead and take David Montgomery. Because in a tournament style format, you could advance a unique team to the playoff tournament and create that leverage over the rest of the field. However, am I specifically targeting David Montgomery on a team where I have Jahmyr Gibbs? Is it like I took Jahmyr Gibbs, then all of a sudden I'm going to reach on David Montgomery and ADP? Hell no. No. If he falls to you, maybe. Alex says, I have a confession to make. I traded Kyron week 1 of last year for Charbonnet. Can I get an RIP? Everybody spam the chat, RIP for Alex. And I have a confession to make to you as well, my friend. I would have done the same exact thing in a dynasty league week 1 of last season. My assumption to be, okay, let me get out of Kyron Williams while I can. Clearly, that wouldn't have been the play. Clearly, that wouldn't have been the move, but we would have done it. But I think that should be it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate you hanging out with us. Really hope that we were able to provide you some entertainment tonight. But yeah, thank you so much for everything. Really do appreciate you and really hope that we get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow.